sixth graders, welcome to another exciting edition of Backyard Science with your sixth grade science teachers. Right now we're in Waldron's backyard. I'm out here enjoying a little bit of fresh air and pollen, getting ready to tell you all about living and non-living things. If you remember way back when, to the beginning of the school year, we talked about things that were living and non-living. Living things are biotic. Bio usually means life. So things that are biotic are things that are living, were once living, or part of something that was living. If it was ever attached to something that had some life pumping through it, it is a biotic factor. Things that are abiotic are not living. A, as a prefix, usually means not. So abiotic things are not living, were never attached to anything living. There's no life pumping through them, and there never was. What we're going to do right now is try and avoid the machinery that's going on in the background and find some abiotic and biotic factors in Waldron's backyard.
Thanks, Miss Waldron, for the great introduction. I'm going to talk to you guys today about the tropical rainforest and the deciduous temperate forest. The tropical rainforests always occur in areas of the world that receive lots of rain, and they also are near the equator where they have a steady temperature all the time. There are 4 layers of the tropical rainforest that allow plants and animals to habitat and create a biome or an area that's good for them. The bottom level is the forest floor, and this area is very dark, doesn't receive a lot of sunlight, and is a place where millions of different types of insects reside. And then you have the understory. The understory is the next level. This is where large bushes and vines start to grow and start to fill in the space. These plants don't require a lot of sunlight, but they make great habitat for small vertebrate animals, such as different types of lizards or snakes and things like that. The third level is the canopy, and this is about 50 meters off the ground, and this area receives sunlight, but not as much as the next level, which is the emergent level. The emergent level receives the most amount of sunlight. Because a rainforest has these 4 different levels, it is able to have animals that live up in the emergent level that never interact with animals that are on the floor level, or animals that are in the canopy that never interact with animals in the emergent level. This allows for a massive amount of diversity, and for this reason, the tropical rainforest is believed to have the most amount of species of animals and plants that there are. And then we're moving it from tropical rainforest. As we move north or south, we're moving into deciduous forests. A deciduous forest is a forest that has trees that release or drop their leaves every year. Here in East Tennessee, we live in a deciduous forest. We have trees that right now, if you were looking around, are budding their leaves and just starting to pop leaves out. In 5 or 6 months, they're going to start dropping their leaves. And because they do that, we have animals that respond to that also. Right now, there are birds singing all around me. But in 5 or 6 months, when fall comes into place, those birds are going to fly south where it's a little bit warmer. So a deciduous forest is an area of the world that has great diversity. We have animals like white-tailed deer, skunks, caterpillars, ants, blue jays, mockingjays. All these different animals come together in this specific region and then spread out when it becomes winter and fall. In the winter, you're not going to see as many deer out and about. You're not going to see the skunks out and about. But as soon as spring hits, they're back here and out and thriving. Miss Butterfield and Miss Brown are going to go ahead and give you the information or the reminders of what the other biomes are. I hope you all have a great week.
Thanks, Melko. We're now going to talk about the Coniferous Forest. It's a really cool biome. It's actually the largest terrestrial biome on Earth, and it's found on every continent. in the more northern latitudes. And the coniferous forest is also sometimes called the taiga. Coniferous forest gets its name from a very specific kind of tree called a conifer. And conifers are known because their seeds are held in a cone. And so conifer equals cone. You typically call them pine cones, even though they come from different tree species like pines, firs, spruces, and even a one called a larch, which I've never seen. So maybe that's a new life goal. Find a larch. So these coniferous trees have very specific characteristics. They have cones that hold their fruit, like their seeds. Then they also have really thin needle-like or scale-like leaves. They have a waxy coating, and this holds in moisture and it protects them from really cold temperatures. Now, because the taiga or the coniferous forest is found globally, you can find different variations. So in, let's say, Washington in the US, Washington State, that area gets a lot of moisture. It tends to be more temperate, and so you have like a mossy ground covering. Lots more moisture there. Now, if you go up into the Rocky Mountains, you have different characteristics because it's drier and colder. You're gonna find the taiga in Russia, in Europe, and in Asia. One thing you'll find in all of them are really cold winters and snow. And so when you have these snowy winters, you're gonna have animal adaptations like change in fur color. You can see this in bobcats and foxes. You can also see it in some owl species. So let's talk about those biotic factors. We have our tree, we have its leaf structure, we have the different species changing that fur. But what else do we find in the coniferous forest? We also find elk and moose and sometimes reindeer. You'll find fox and squirrels and rabbits, lots of bird species. You won't find a lot of amphibians just because amphibians are cold-blooded, so they need that external heat source. And typically the taiga is much colder climate. So we talked about biotic, the things that are living, we're living, or we're a part of something living. Now let's talk about the abiotic characteristics that make the taiga or the coniferous forest what they are. And that includes the latitude, the more northern distance from the equator. You're going to have poorer, more acidic soil. You're going to have colder temperatures in the winter. All of these things are not living, never were living, and never will be alive. But they're very key in making the taiga the taiga. Our second biome we're going to talk about is the grassland. And just like the taiga, it's found all over the globe. It typically is found in the center of a continent, even here in the United States. And that center part of the continent typically is going to be a little more arid or dry. They sometimes have rainy seasons. The soil is not nutrient dense enough, and there's not enough moisture to typically support trees. So we find this in our grasslands in the Great Plains, where we grow grasses that we like to eat, like wheat, barley, and rye, and even corn. But we can also find grasslands near the equator in places like Africa, and so you have the savanna. And in those areas we do get some trees, but they're shorter, they're smaller, and they come in little clumps. It's not like a forest like we see here. Some of the animals that we see in the savanna are tigers and elephants and giraffe and rhinoceros. You have lots of big grazing animals like antelope, right? In our grasslands and our Great Plains, you're going to find bison. You're also going to find smaller animals like rabbits and fox and bobcats. All of these animals work together to create that food chain, food web, energy pyramid. And they typically you're going to find big grazing animals because they're able to eat lots of producers. Some of the abiotic characteristics you're going to find is the precipitation rates, the temperatures, the soil quality. All of these things play a role together to create the cool biomes that we have. And now I'm going to send you to Miss Brown, and she's going to teach you about the last two biomes.
Thanks, Butterfield. Miss Brown here, and I'm going to talk to you guys about deserts and tundras. So first, let's talk desert. Deserts cover about 1/5 of the Earth's surface, which is quite a bit. Now, there are 4 different kinds of deserts. There's the hot and dry, semi-arid, coastal, and then the cold deserts. We're going to mainly be just focusing on the hot deserts today. Now, all 4 of these types of deserts share similar characteristics. They have very little rainfall, extreme temperatures, and the animals that live there are usually very small. Okay, so let's get into some specifics about hot deserts. They are found in several different continents. They're found here in North America, Central America. They're found in Africa as well. So they're really just all over the world. They have extremely hot summers, very mild, very warm winters, so not really a typical winter that you would think of here in East Tennessee. The rainfall is very small, 1 to 10 inches per year, so not a lot. There's no subsurface runoff, so think back to a couple of videos. I believe it was the first backyard science video that we did, where we talked about the water cycle. One of the steps was subsurface runoff, when the water runs underneath the ground. There is none of that happening in the desert. Everything is quickly absorbed by the plants that are surrounding the ground there. Sometimes when it's raining, there's not even rainfall that hits the ground. It's actually evaporated before it hits the ground. Now the animals, because of the extreme heat here, the animals do not come out a lot during the day. They're what we call nocturnal. That means they sleep during the day and they're out at night. So they do their hunting, their scavenging at nighttime where it's cooler, and they're avoiding the heat of the day. A lot of these animals burrow. There's the burrowing owl. Foxes burrow as well. Some of the animals have really long ears and wide feet. Now the long ears are going to help them release their body heat, and it helps control their body heat. Think about when you're looking at an ear, maybe you have a cat or a dog and you look inside their ear, you can see the veins that run through it. And so when you're thinking about an animal that lives in the desert, their ears are going to have those same kind of veins. The blood's running through those veins through their ear. So what's happening is, as it's going through, the blood is going through those veins, it's actually cooling down and releasing the body heat through their ears. So really cool. So the plants here, since there's not a lot of rainfall, the plants have to be able to hold in that moisture. So a lot, cactus or cacti, they hold in that water, and they use it and store it for later on when there's not any rainfall. What's another cool feature about the plants here, you know how you think of a cactus and you think of like the long needles and stuff on there? The needles are actually providing shade for the plant, but as well as protection from predators and things that would potentially eat it. But those needles are allowing shade on the cactus, and that is allowing for less transpiration. So that goes back to the water cycle again. So think back to transpiration. Transpiration is when biotic things or living things release water vapor. So when the plant is shaded because of those needles, it's allowing them to hold in that moisture instead of it just being evaporated, which is also helping the plant retain its moisture. Next, we're going to talk about the tundra. The tundra is extremely cold. There's not a lot of biotic things that live there due to the cold temperatures, and there's also not a lot of rainfall that falls. So that also is a reason there's not a lot of biotic things that live there. And there's usually a very small growing season due to the temperature and the lack of rainfall there. Now there are two main types of tundras. There's the Arctic tundra, and then there's the alpine tundra. We're going to first talk about the Arctic tundra. Now the Arctic tundra is what some people might think of like a cold desert, but there's a little bit more to it than just the desert. It is desert-like, so I can see where some people can kind of compare those things. Now, the Arctic tundra is going to circle the North Pole, so it's going to be in Canada, it's going to be in parts of Russia, Greenland is going to be up there, so it's going to be considered the Arctic tundra. It actually goes down from the North Pole. If you're looking at a globe, think from the North Pole, and then it's going to run into the Coniferous Forest. You just heard Miss Butterfield talk about it, so imagine it going from the Coniferous Forest and then to the North Pole. That's where the Arctic tundra is going to be found. The summer temperatures are going to be anywhere from 37 to 54 Fahrenheit, so very cold. Now the winter temperatures are freezing. It's negative, the average temperature is negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so extremely cold there. Now, due to the extreme cold, almost year-round, there's what we call permafrost. Permafrost is where there's a layer of soil that is permanently frozen and nothing can grow underneath it. So there's very little room above that permafrost. So imagine we've got permafrost here, and then there's about this much of growing space for plants to grow. So if you're a plant and you're trying to grow in the Arctic tundra, you can't really have long roots. So a lot of the root systems of the plants are going to be shallow and spread out. So because of that, there's lots of grasses, shrubs, small little flowering plants, but not a lot of trees. There's actually no trees there, because remember, trees have to have a deep root system, and there's not a deep root system that the permafrost is going to allow. Now, going back to temperatures, there's only about 50 to 60 days that things are able to grow here. So it's a lot of quick growing, and then it's going to die out and then come back a year later. So mosses, grass, shrubs, like I said, no trees there. A lot of the animals are migratory. They come during the growing season, eat the grass, and then they move out. They go down south. There's the caribou there, that's like a deer. The Arctic hares, that's a rabbit, type of rabbit. Polar bears, Arctic foxes, and wolves. So another adaptation that animals could have, instead of migrating back and forth, they could hibernate. Hibernate is when they sleep for a very long period to conserve their energy, and they usually have a lot of blubber, a lot of fat around them to keep them warm during that long winter. Now let's talk about the alpine tundra. The alpine tundra is very similar in the biotic and even abiotic factors of the Arctic tundra. The main difference is going to be location. You're going to find the alpine tundra at the higher altitudes in the mountaintops. So if you've ever been to the Rocky Mountains and you're driving along and you see like a massive amount of trees everywhere, and then all of a sudden the trees stop, you're now entering the alpine tundra. Trees do not grow in the alpine tundra. There's great drainage there. The rainfall just collects on the mountaintop, and then it pools down in a little valley there. So there's more moisture there, but not a ton. Now, because there's more moisture, there's going to be a longer growing season. It's about 180 days. So they're able to grow more little shrubs and little grasses. Still no trees in the alpine tundra, just like the Arctic tundra. There are a few different animals here though. There's the marmots, and then mountain goats and elk are popular here. All right guys, that is it for this week's edition of Backyard Science. We sure hope you enjoyed reviewing about biomes with your 6th grade science teachers at Bearden Middle. We love and miss you all. Please, please, please reach out to us if you need anything. Reach out to one of us, reach out to another teacher. We are here for you guys. Please let us know if you need anything. Bye.